Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Variety of Views. I believe this is episode 56, and I'm joined here by.
Hello, my name is Adam. My channel is called. I'm just going to plug stuff if you don't mind, since we did that. Just going to go right into the plugs.
Go ahead.
My channel is Team Diff, and later on tonight I'll be putting up a second video where I talk about Rollins and the Balor injury and predictions and the WrestleMania card so far. So please, if you get a chance, go over to my channel, Team Diff, and check it out. And that's all my plugs.
Awesome, and I'll have your channels right in the description box, so check it out there. And of course, as always, joined by.
The Stage Man.
I didn't get it. I need a gimmick.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
This is cutting into your plugging time, by the way.
All right, go ahead. Plug your shit.
Nah, I don't even know what to plug though, but I'll save the plugs and stuff towards the end. So,
All
right.
it might be.
No problem.
Make me feel like an ass.
Now, trust me, I would be promoting my shit too, but I just don't wanna. It depends on whatever. I really like to just promote my stuff either once, whether it's the beginning or the end. It doesn't really matter. But
I get you.
But if I was really being a dick, I'll probably promote my shit every single time I speak. So my thoughts are this. And by the way, subscribe to my channel.
Subscribe.
And
yeah. So I really feel like that Roman Reigns subscribe would really be better on SmackDown. Subscribe to my channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that.
Dude. Be a dick. It's about time people are dicks to those who are dicks, because I'm pretty sure we got some viewers out there that are just like, oh, what the hell are they talking about? So go ahead.
Dear variety vendor, you said in episode 53.
You said in episode 53 that you said that the cruiserweights aren't good, but you said in episode 57 that you said the cruiserweights are the best thing ever. You're a hypocrite, man.
Yeah. You shouldn't change your opinions. You should stick to them, even though they do change. Jeez.
I love how not even 5 minutes into the show we're just alienating all our entire fan base.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Trust me.
And here we are telling people to subscribe.
Trust me. There's a series. There's a series on my channel that we do. It's called The List, where me and my friend, we basically do video responses of people, and some of the times we just basically shit on those idiotic fans who say stupid shit. So trust me, we do it more or less on a weekly basis too.
So all you.
One of the viewers is like, I am offended. I'm going to subscribe.
So basically what Terrence is saying is all you stupid idiots that are listening to the show right now, go subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
Jericho.
You just made the list.
You just made the list.
All right.
That's wonderful.
Okay, now it's time to get serious.
Sure.
Let's talk about we won't be serious for long. I'm pretty sure we're gonna, fly off the handle, sometime soon. But
if I can be serious for just a minute.
Thank you, Lance Storm. So we're gonna talk about the Cruiserweight division and how to fix it, because we have all the power in WWE, and we are smartasses, so we can fix it.
Oh, please don't say we're smartasses. Oh my God! First, when you say that,
Vince. IRS Vince, we can do it.
If anyone could fix the Cruiserweight division, it's the Smart Mark community. Is basically what you're saying, isn't it, Vendor?
What can I say, dude? We're part of it, whether we like it or not. We're part of the community.
That's true.
Yeah. So
to be quite honest with you, once you say it, because I'm a smartass, it gives me this what culture douche chills on my spine. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And what culture are the people that I do not want to be associated with? Got a lot of what culture fanboys on my ass, by the way. Been doing a lot of videos and just they've been on my ass a lot. Anyways, cruiserweights. Yeah, we can do it better. Ding.
Oh my god.
I just got douche.
Da-da-da-da.
So, Adam, before
Yes.
we started the show, you had an idea to fix the cruiserweight division slash 205 Live. Care to share your idea?
Yes. To be perfectly fair, though, this was not 100% my idea. It was a friend of mine named Nick. Hi Nick, by the way, if you're listening to this. Um, uh, he had a fantastic idea, which I kind of added on to and trademarked. Um, but the idea was to bring. Well, my idea was to cancel 205 Live completely because, as you know, the ratings on 205 Live have not been great. So, and there really hasn't been a lot of interest in 205 Live, not only in terms of ratings, in terms of viewership, because it's on the network, so it's really hard to say ratings, but in terms of viewership, but also in terms of the number of people who are in the arena during 205 Live, because I believe they tape before, or go live rather, before SmackDown. So there really hasn't, the production value really hasn't been too good in terms of good on TV. The production value, of course, is just WWE production value, but in terms of the arena, the look of the number of fans in the crowd during 205 Live has not been that great. I suggested to cancel 205 Live completely and bring the cruiserweights to either Raw or SmackDown. My friend Nick, hi Nick, suggested making the middle hour of Raw where you do the first hour, blah blah blah, then switch over to the cruiserweights for the second hour, change the look, change the announcers as I believe you mentioned, Vendor, like they did on Nitro, and then do the third hour just going back to regular Raw, switch back to the Raw announcers and everything like that. And I feel like not only would this, moreover, but it would also kill two birds with one stone, because you would also then be justifying a 3-hour Raw where, since, let's face it, Raw went to 3 hours, they haven't been that great. So there's one solution to fix the Cruiserweight division is cancel 205 Live, bring them to either Raw or SmackDown, preferably Raw, and make the middle hour the Cruiserweight hour.
Perfect. Put the cruiserweights in the middle hour. That's a great idea. Terrence, what you think about it?
I do agree in that. In my opinion, I feel like the whole 205 thing from the get-go was pretty pointless, because it's like, how can the cruiserweights, who at the beginning weren't even getting themselves over to begin with, deserve its own show? It's like, if you wanted to have them be its own show, you should have just done it from the get-go, or you should have just kept them being on Raw and have them just be more a part of the show. You can't just have both. It's either one or the other that should happen. So, and in terms of just fixing the problem with the cruiserweight division, how about you just do what they should do and just have those cool, fun matches? So number one, have them do what they did in the Cruiserweight Classic and just, do all these cool moves and all that kind of stuff. Get the fans going a little bit. Also, and I know and this has been a problem when they call up NXT as well, NXT guys as well, is that they don't tell who these guys are, because they assume that everybody who watches WWE has the network. And not everybody who watches WWE has the network, so they assume, oh, okay, so these guys were from the Cruiserweight Classic, so I assume that everybody knows who these people are, so we don't have to worry too much about building a story around these guys. I think they should spend more time. They should have spent more time in getting to know the characters a little bit. They've done it with certain guys like Jack Gallagher or Rich Swann, which was cool. But they should have done it with more guys. Having TJ Perkins as the champion was the worst thing they've done. They should have done it where you had a recognizable name like a Brian Kendrick became the champion first, but that's a different story for a different time. So have them do what they should do and just get them over by their moves and all that stuff. Number two, get rid of the purple ropes, the purple graphics, all that kind of shit, because it feels like they feel like the cruiserweights are a bunch of outsiders, even though it's taking place on Raw. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to have the cruiserweights on Raw, cool, but you don't need to make them as if they're a separate entity of Raw. They're still considered as Raw superstars in a lot of ways. So just have them be a part of the show. And another way you can have them be a part of the show is if they interact with other members of the roster instead of just the cruiserweights. Like back in the day when you had the cruiserweight division on SmackDown, it wasn't just like, oh, when Gregory Helms was the cruiserweight champion, all he ever fought every week was, Nunzio or Super Crazy every week. No, he fought guys like flipping Chris Benoit, or heck, there was one match that he had against Rey Mysterio on SmackDown, and Rey Mysterio was the world heavyweight champ.
Yeah,
And
teamed
heck,
up
even
with The
when
Rock.
and and also look as well, Rey Mysterio. He didn't spend most of his time on SmackDown in the Cruiserweight division fighting Tajiri and Spike Dudley every week. No, he was in the tag team division and the mid card division, and even a couple of main event matches here or there. You can have these guys be moved up the card every now and again. Especially you can do it now with a lot of these guys on the roster who, let's just be honest, they're all built the same. What makes Finn Balor so different than Neville? If you really think about it, like, I'm not taking any away from Finn Balor, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? So you can imagine you can do matches like let's say Cedric Alexander, for a time being, he's done with the cruiserweight division. You can have him be moved up with the card, maybe fight for the United States title, or fight guys like a Sheamus or a Cesaro or a Sami Zayn or something like that. And you can have those cool moments. Heck, you can even have a cruiserweight be, let's say, you have him do a shocking moment where he becomes a number one contender for a championship on Raw, and he pulls on an underdog moment or something like that. Like they did, I think, with Rey Mysterio in '03 against Brock Lesnar. Uh, and they could do moments like that. Have them be more involved with the show. And I think that's what you can do with the cruiserweight division.
I do remember, yeah, Mysterio doing a lot of that. I remember he was in like beat the clock challenges to face the champion at Royal Rumble, where he faced Edge for the title. He faced the
Yeah.
Undertaker multiple times. There are, yeah, I do agree. And even Gregory Helms, while being Cruiserweight champion, he was part of Beat the Clock challenge, and he faced Booker T at one point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. Like, you need to kind of mix it up, and the idea of having like the purple ropes and the purple theme, I think that works for 205 Live, but on Raw it doesn't work that way because they're already part of the roster. It was built up from the get go. The cruiserweights are coming to Raw. The cruiserweights are coming to Raw, not Raw coming to the cruiserweights.
Exactly. There you go. It makes you made a perfect point right there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And plus, as a production, plus being a part of the production and people who are setting up the ring and stuff, like the officials, it's way too time consuming too. It's like you don't need to spend too much time taping the ropes purple and all the other crap. You can just leave it as it is. You know what
Right.
I mean?
I think the graphic on the Titantron is enough. You can just have like the cruiserweights on like the Titantron, and that's it. That's pretty much enough. You already have like banners and like the light ups on the posts, and
Yeah.
on the ring. And it just you can change it through the
It's like
graphics. Yeah.
it's like if back then when they had the Divas division or even the women's division now, it's like, oh, we have the women's division, but we're gonna have pink ropes every time the women are gonna be fighting in the ring, and the graphics on the stage is gonna be pink, because you know what I mean. It's like as if they do. It's like if they did it back then with the women, but they didn't.
Yeah,
But guess what? They're part of the show either way,
the
just like you
thing
should
is,
do with the
like,
cruiserweights.
I appreciate the effort. Like, I appreciate them,
Yeah,
changing the ropes and all that. I appreciate that, but it's not needed. It's not necessary.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I do agree. Like, yeah, the 205 live as a show, it's unnecessary because the only thing that we had built up towards it is the Cruiserweight Classic. And yeah, to be fair, there was a buzz going on in the in social media. Like, holy shit, Kota Ibushi versus Brian Kendrick. That was an awesome match. Cedric Alexander and Kota Ibushi, Noam Dar and Zack Sabre Jr. Oh my god, the finals, all of that. It was amazing, but at the same time, to the casual eye, they didn't see that. So the seeing the cruiserweights on Raw is their first impression. And guess what? You get to see like T.J. Perkins against Brian Kendrick for 1,500 times. You talk about Roman Reigns against Kevin Owens. Holy shit! I can't even count like T.J. Perkins and Brian Kendrick how many times they faced off against each other in combinations of matches. Um, and I do agree with you, Terrence, that yeah, they should mix it up. They should have like a recognizable face. I don't know about Brian Kendrick because the thing is about Brian Kendrick is that he is a great wrestler, but he's far too slow to be the face of that show. Like you need like a fast-paced guy, just like the graphics. You see like the Street Fighter type graphics, and then you see Brian
mhm.
Kendrick. He's holding some guy down with a sleeper hold. That's not
Yeah.
cruiserweight.
No, but I not like the reason why I bring up Kendrick is because what I mean by recognizable face is because he's been on the roster before. So it's like, okay, if you wanted to have someone a cruiserweight champion to start off with, you can have, let's say, a guy like Brian Kendrick be the guy first to put
Right,
over, let's say, the young up and coming cruiserweight. Heck, you wouldn't even just be Brian Kendrick. You could have just done that with Tajiri if you want that too. Like,
right.
and plus
Like
the
Yeah.
way they did
in the first
before. I
show,
remember when they,
yeah. Like I do remember like in the first show when they were introduced, Brian Kendrick did get like the biggest pop because he was the most recognizable guy.
Right.
yeah.
I totally agree with you. So finish up your point, Terrence.
Oh yeah, you brought up the first Raw they had with the cruiserweights. Yeah, Brian Kendrick did get over, and people didn't knew him, and he got a big pop. But also, they could have just done that, and then guess what they did? They didn't even show They didn't even have T.J. Perkins show up on Raw. And you know what I mean? How dumb that sounds. Like, oh, we're gonna bring the cruiserweights to Raw, but we're not gonna have the cruiserweight champ, and he's gonna have a title match the following Sunday. So
Hmm.
you see how dumb that sounds? You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they could have just done everything from the get go. And why do you think T.J. Perkins never got over? He still isn't. He's still like, other than his theme song, which I do feel like it is
He
kick
is
ass.
awesome.
It is,
Yeah, it's
it
pretty
is
cool.
it's pretty cool. But other than that, it's like, oh, okay, T.J.
Well,
Perkins
you,
is doing whatever. Like, come on.
well, you mentioned the Hurricane before. I mean, and having the cruiserweights do stuff with the regular Raw roster. I loved the stuff that the Hurricane did with The Rock.
Yeah,
If you guys remember that,
yeah,
Yeah,
where what was it, like Hurricane was in The Rock's closet or something, and he came out was like, "Who the blue hell are you?" He did some really really good segments with The Rock.
you can do that
arrest
with
that guy. Arrest him. He's been shipping chicken McNuggets straight up his ass.
you can do that. You can do that with a guy like you can do that with a guy like Jack Gallagher. You can have him be in segments like, I don't know, let's say a segment with him and Chris Jericho, for
Right.
example. Or you can have him be in a funny ass segment with, like, I don't know, Mark Henry or some shit like that on Raw. Or Braun Strowman. Let's say like, all right, good evening, gentlemen. What are you guys having in catering? And friggin' Mark Henry says, I'm gonna be having a Big Mac in catering.
Right.
Ah, yes. But that's not what civil men do. This is not what
Right.
gentlemen eat. Or some shit like
Yeah, yeah,
gentlemen eat
exactly.
with
Well, like,
manners or some shit. It would be
even
funny.
even have like a Seinfeld reference where he's like eating a Snickers bar with a knife and fork.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh, that would be great.
yeah.
That would be.
Make them be more part of the show. It's fun that way.
Right,
And plus,
exactly.
also,
Yeah.
and plus, it does. And plus, you tend to less overexpose a lot of the matches we tend to see over and over again every single week too. Plus, you have fresh matchups with a lot of guys as well. You know what I mean? Like, you can have matches like, let's say, um, I don't know, like Kevin Owens. Let's say for like a filler match, for example. Let's say Kevin Owens taking on, I don't know, Drew Gulak in like a random 5 minute match on Raw. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sure, you may have to make the cruiserweights a job, guys, but it's not like it's not a bad thing because he gets to face the champ. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So you can have these
Well,
situations.
I don't know. I don't know if I would job them out. I
No,
don't know if
not
I would
job
job
them
them
out,
out only because you're trying to get the
not job
division
them out
over.
to the not job them out to
Sure,
the
but
point where they become like the James Ellsworth. No, I mean like let's say you have like a
Okay.
cruiserweight
Yeah.
taking out the champ, and let's say they have a 5 minute match at the most, just to get the champion over, I suppose. You know, let's say before a pay per view, for example, the champion needs like a warm up match. You have him face off a cruiserweight, for example. Let's say like I don't know, like Drew Gulak or something like that.
well,
You know what I
I
mean?
agree totally with you, Terrence. Because you know, here's the thing: even if the cruiserweight loses to the champion, as long as it's a long match, like give them 10, 15 minutes where it's like really close. Like remember Taka Michinoku facing Triple H on Raw, and he
Yeah.
came so close in beating Triple H multiple times, but he lost at the end. But it was such a fun match, and it was like, holy shit, Taka's about to win. And I remember APA was on the outside that they were like, you know, Kai and Tai, they paid them off to be to help him out, and there were multiple times where like Triple H almost lost. Like there was a spine buster on Triple H by Ron Simmons, and you know Taka got the pinfall and almost about to win, but he didn't at the end. And also another match I remember was the Rey Mysterio had a match with Brock Lesnar in '03, I believe. Um,
Yeah, it was like the end of '03. I remember.
Yeah, Lesnar
Yeah.
was champion, and I think it was Rey Mysterio's birthday, and he had
Yeah.
a match with Brock in the main event, and it was a fun match. Like I think,
That's right.
like I do think, like something like that, or even you can go back even further. '94, 1, 2, 3 Kid and Bret Hart when Bret Hart was
There
champion.
That was a
Yeah,
damn good match.
like yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Like
That was a damn good match.
they went for
Yeah.
like 20 minutes, like, and it
Yeah.
was so back and forth. But Brett won at the end, and 1, 2, 3 Kid, he was an even bigger star. So when you have like a guy like
Right.
Drew Gulak or Cedric Alexander or Rich Swann against like Kevin Owens, or even against like a remember when Neville faced Seth Rollins a couple of years ago when
there you
Rollins was
go.
champion?
That's another
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But
That's
Yeah,
right.
imagine,
And Neville came very close. Yeah.
yeah,
like
just
imagine, uh, like imagine you. Let's say if Reigns were to be a heel champ. Imagine him taking on, let's say, a Rich Swann or a Cedric Alexander.
In a
yeah.
perfect world.
Man,
Like I would love
yeah,
for Roman to turn heel, and he would be like the kind of guy that hates like smaller guys or indie guys, and he would be facing off against like Cedric Alexander, T.J. Perkins, even Kota Ibushi once he comes up, um, you know um,
Right. That'd be awesome.
Zack Saber Jr. All these
Yeah.
guys, and he would be like,
Call him the indie killer.
isn't
sure,
that Baron Corbin though? Since we
it's
were
kind
Yeah.
of like
Be
Baron
like
Corbin,
Roman.
but I think it works better for
Mhm.
Roman because Roman is really hated by Smarks. So let him kill the indie
Right.
darlings, and he would get so over as a heel, and he'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
who's this guy coming up against the guy? And then when he faces him, the other guy comes so close and beating him, and the fans would be just standing up on their feet and be like, holy shit, our guy is about to dethrone the guy. And
Yeah.
it would
The
be
guy.
a fun match.
I could see it now. Roman Reigns, the indie killer.
Right. You can even make
You know,
shirts like that. And it's like I don't care about your heroes. I squash your
Oh
heroes.
yes.
I don't
That
care
would be
about your
great.
heroes, and I don't care about your experience.
Yeah. All I
Experience
care
don't mean
about is
shit
what's
to
in
me.
your pockets.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
And even have Reigns do promos where he's like, "So what if you wrestled in Japan? So what if you wrestled, in the Tokyo Dome? Who cares?
Right.
And have him really get over Smarks as a heel. Not
Right.
that you really need
oh,
to.
you can You can bury. I can see Rain. Sorry to cut you off there, but I can see Rain saying like, "So these guys think they're better than me because they wrestled in Japan." Yeah, guess what? I wrestled in Japan like last week at a live event, and I got paid more money than you
Yeah,
got.
Right.
yeah. I got.
Exactly.
Well, that matters is the payday. Yeah,
Right. You're cutting your way to the top in Japan for all these years, while I go there and just main event a show on my first day in Japan. And
yeah.
and he would say to the fans like, you know what the best part about you fans is the green in your wallet. You
hmm
know?
And I think it would really work because if you just turn Reigns heel, regular heel, he would probably get cheered by the fans because
You'd
we've
be the
been
cool
waiting
heel like
for
The
a
Rock from
what's that?
2003. You'd be like you'd be like the cool heel like Rock from 2003.
Right. So, if you really want to get him over as a hated heel, yeah, have him bury the indie darlings, and he would actually start getting booed. Hopefully, um, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it would definitely
Sorry.
work for him as a heel, mainly because if you just turn him heel now, they're going to cheer him, because you've been waiting for a Reigns heel turn for so long.
Right.
But
Like I think definitely that would definitely work. And the thing is, the reason why WWE is so afraid of turning him is because they're afraid of losing a lot of merch sales. But I do think even the best heels out there, like you think about Stone Cold when he started and he was a heel, he was selling a lot of shirts, a lot of Austin 316 shirts, the NWO. Like he
Absolutely, they were the cool heels. Yeah.
right. It's like the highest selling item ever. But another thing for another day because we were supposed to talk about the cruiserweights.
yeah, I was
Um,
just about to mention that.
I was just
Like,
thinking about it. I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's. Wait a minute. What about the cruiserweights?
see, this is how
In-
you know the cruise. This is how you know the cruiserweights aren't doing that well because we completely forgot about them.
well,
Exactly, dude. Exactly. We can talk about paint dry, and it would be a more interesting topic. But at the same time, we want it to succeed. Like we really want like the cruiserweights to
Yeah,
succeed. We've been asking for it for years, and once it's
yeah,
here, it's not like what we
right.
expected it to be. It feels like you want that burger from like that restaurant and then they bring it up to you and it's like filled with like salt and the condiments aren't right and it's just like what's this mess in front of me? It doesn't even resemble a burger. um
It's
I just
like you wanted a Rich Swan sandwich, and they brought you a T.J. Perkins salad.
pretty much and
I
a
don't know.
bland salad that it's just it's not like the salad that's like it has like that different types of seasoning and just I don't know, like dressings and stuff like that. But let's try to fix it. Okay. You guys talked about you need to have a recognizable face, and you need to put it in the middle of the show, which I think would be perfect because you can do something in the first hour, and then you can hype up the third hour. Like Stephanie can come out and say, like in the main event on the third hour, that is the main event. It's going to be this guy against this guy, so there's like a lot of hype for the end. And the second hour, the cruiserweight hour, if you will, that's when the fans are they would be hooked until the end. So I think there would be a lot of interesting things that you can do there. And plus, for those who really want to break from Raw, they can break from like the second hour. Even though I do think that there's going to be like a massive drop in the second hour, especially. But I do
Mhm.
think if you keep it interesting, with the clips on Twitter and on YouTube. I think with word of mouth and people are like, "Holy shit! Did you see what just happened? Fucking Neville
Right.
jumped off the Titantron on like 50 guys or something like that."
Yeah. So wait, why is Neville suddenly Jeff Hardy?
It's as an example, like it can be
Right.
just or like, "Holy shit!" Well, Noam Dar like almost broke his shoulder because
hmm
he's like I think he's double jointed, so it can
hmm
look like crazy. So it's like, holy shit, look at what happened to his arm, and then that can be like, the clips would be like, passed around and be sent to other people and shared and stuff like that, to the point where the second hour kind of becomes the hottest hour.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and I definitely agree with it having the second hour because number one, you have the fans already in their seats
Sure,
because
yeah,
they've been there from the first hour, where 205 Live before SmackDown tapes, people are still in the concession stands, they're still in the bathroom, they're still buying that Roman Reigns shirt if you're Terrence, and
That's all right. In fact, I'm wearing one right now, to be quite honest with you.
oh, god damn you. Um,
Believe that.
check out more rants on Roman Reigns. Check out my channel. No. So yeah, so you have the fans already in their seats during the second hour, where if you do it during the first hour, not everyone's seated yet. It's kind of like when they did like a heat before a pay per view.
right.
When they would do like a Sunday night heat. The arena never looked right because it always looked half empty because it's like, it's heat. Oh, okay, well, we don't have to sit down yet. I still have time to buy popcorn or a hot dog, because it's only heat.
And the thing is, though, is that we talked about this in our, Royal Rumble / Takeover review. Is that it's the fans era right now? It's the Smarks era right now. So those guys, they're in attendance. They want to get on TV. They want to be like right there in front of like 3 million people watching. They're not the people like in the far back row, but like the guys in the hard cam. They're like, oh, I'm not going to leave because I'm going to be on TV. So they're just going to stay there just for the sake of that, more so than the show. And hey, if you give them a good product, they'll be on their feet and they'll be cheering. Because if you give like Cedric Alexander versus like Neville in a 15-minute match, like for the Cruiserweight title, I think the fans would get into it. The fans would go crazy. They would cheer. They would holler, and they would tell their friends and everybody, "Hey, turn on USA. Just watch what's going on right now. It's absolutely nuts." And you can hear the crowd just cheering and stuff like that. So it's gonna be like you can't miss that hour.
Yeah.
You guys talked. Terrence, you talked about having a familiar face. Okay, give me one guy. We'll give one guy each, okay, to put in 205 Live to kind of build around, okay? We'll start with you, Adam. Like, who do you think would be the perfect guy to bring in? It doesn't matter where he's at right now, whether it's SmackDown, Raw, New Japan, any other company, doesn't matter. Just that one guy and put on 205 Live that you can build around.
Xavier Woods.
Okay, Xavier Woods. Explain.
Well, I feel like a New Day breakup is imminent.
Right.
So I feel like out of the three guys from New Day, no disrespect to Kofi, but I feel like Xavier Woods is best to do the flippy stuff, and I feel like he would just fit into the brand the best. Have to break up New Day. I think you mentioned once before that it might have been on the show. I don't remember if it was on the show or in one of our.
Yeah, in the previous.
But you said we could. What they could do is they could have Xavier be on the Cruiserweight division or be on 205 Live, and then for the Big Four, just have New Day reunions. So I feel like out of the three members of New Day, the second obviously being Kofi, I feel like Xavier is a big name. He's a big enough name, but not too big. You don't want to take a huge name and put him on 205, maybe. He's a big enough name where he'll be recognized, but at the same time fit into the brand. So my pick is Xavier Woods.
I totally agree. He has a lot of followers, a lot of subscribers on YouTube, and he has a lot of fans, basically, especially from New Day. And if you can ask anybody, they'll say like their favorite guy probably on New Day is well, in terms of promos, it's Xavier Woods. He's the most entertaining one of the three. While Kofi is the better wrestler and Big E is the powerhouse, yeah, you kind of see like Xavier Woods. Terrence, what do you think of Xavier Woods being like the guy to be built around, and who would you pick to have like if it's not Xavier Woods?
I think if it's Xavier Woods, though, I think that's not a bad idea. And plus, um, he does have a following. The New
Mhm.
Day at one point was the best merch sellers in the company. So obviously they're in terms of merchandise, they're a draw. Um, if they were gonna do something with Xavier Woods after with the whole New Day thing being done, I think the cruiserweight division would be not a bad idea. But I said Neville that this should be the one they should center the cruiserweight division around, and sir, they're doing that right now, which is a big step up because like I said, you need to have that guy who is the fans are familiar with. And I did mention Kendrick, but the problem with him is that he's been gone for so long. So some of the people we may not have remembered this guy. And Neville has been on the roster for quite a number of years. He seems a lot more recent than Brian Kendrick. And centering the cruiser division around Neville seems like a good idea. And I'm glad that he is the cruiserweight champion right now.
Right.
Yeah, we just got to see what they have to do with Neville. And him as a heel so far has been pretty solid so far. I'm digging Neville as a heel, man. I've always liked Neville, but the problem is they never had anything good for him to do. Because I remember he was going on a never-ending feud with Stardust at one point, and then he
And
just
with
never on the roster, and then he got hurt. Oh yeah, and with Wade Barrett too, and then he got hurt, and then he came back, and they never did anything.
right,
So just having
I
him
think
go
he's
as
so much
heel,
better as a heel.
I think him as a heel with the direction they're going, I think it's good enough for me. And they can easily have him be the guy being set around the division. It's a good thing, in my opinion.
well, I absolutely agree. Like Neville is like the perfect guy to be on 205 Live. He's got everything going for him. He can be the great heel, he can be the great babyface, and he can do it all. Great wrestler, can high flyer, chain wrestler, everything. His matches in NXT and even when he used to be Pac, he used to have like amazing, amazing matches in the indie scene. Adam, what do you think of Neville? Having like 205 Live being built around him. Do you think it's the right call, or do you think Xavier would be better?
Well, I think Neville as a heel is great. I really, really like him as a heel. I really feel like this is definitely going to character. Not that his character necessarily was dead, but I felt like a lot of people kind of forgot that Neville was on the roster, and they weren't really doing a lot with him. And I love that he's changing he's changing his gimmick, changed his look, and even changed his move set. I didn't even really notice until that he didn't really use the what is that finisher? The red arrow?
Yeah,
Red arrow?
yeah,
He didn't even really use the red arrow uh, much since he's become a heel. And I like that he's changing his move set. He's changing everything about him, and I feel like that's what you need to do when you turn someone heel is make them a completely different person than what they were as a babyface. And it's kind of the same when you turn someone heel to a babyface. I think heel is Neville is a good choice to lead up the cruiserweight division. However, I feel like if you really want to get the division over, pick a bigger name like Xavier Woods, or I think you mentioned Callisto. I think you mentioned.
Yeah, Kalisto.
Did you mention Enzo at one point? I think you even mentioned Enzo.
yeah. I mentioned Enzo. Yeah,
And I think maybe a bigger name than Neville to head up the cruiserweights, only because you really, really want to get the division over. And this is kind of but maybe for another time. But I feel like in the next year or so, maybe next couple of years, what WWE is going to try to do is try to make NXT an equal brand to Raw and SmackDown.
Right.
And I feel like if they're going to do that, they need to bring some bigger names to NXT. So I feel like that's what you kind of need to do with the cruiserweights now. Is Neville was great, but I totally agree with Terrence. But if to really just get it over big, big name like Callisto or Enzo or Xavier or Sin Cara, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Well,
So that's
I think you can combine both your ideas. Have Neville be the top heel, and you can have like Xavier, Enzo, Kalisto, Sin Cara, since they're all babyfaces, chase Neville. I think that would be amazing. Just because he would, you can have like multiple different variations of those feuds. Enzo can be like the underdog that never gets the title, and then when he does, it's special, like in like a year or so. And you can have like Callisto be the same way, Sin Cara be the same way, being like the old name from like the prior era, which is like 2011, and can't get the job done. And you can do like Xavier being the guy, the baby face, and Neville, kind of on the same level as Neville. Wow, that rhymed. And now one more thing, one more guy that I would add to the equation that I
who's that?
think would be perfect, and I think I would bring this guy in, okay, as a GM, and
Hmm.
this guy is the personification of cruiserweights,
Hmm.
and I would have him wrestle only in big matches and only big shows, like the Big Four: SummerSlam, Survivor Series, WrestleMania, and the Royal Rumble. He can be an entrant in the Royal Rumble, can be part of
Hmm.
Survivor Series, can wrestle at SummerSlam if it's a heated feud, and he can have like a match at WrestleMania to make just because he's a little bit older, but I do
Hmm.
think he can put on a great match, no matter who he's in the ring
I
with.
I know exactly who you're thinking.
Rey Mysterio.
I know exactly. Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. Rey
How,
Mysterio is like the
he's with
personification.
Lucha.
He is in Lucha Underground, yes, but Lucha Underground has been having like problems with AAA, and his contract, I do believe, is due, and they've been filming like the seasons back to back. I think they're up to like season 4 right now. I think they're filming season 4 right now, and the way their contracts are made, especially for the big names, is they are paid per appearance. So I think there is a way for Rey Mysterio to get out of it. Hey, Alberto Del Rio got out of it, so I'm pretty sure Rey Mysterio can as well. Um,
That's
and
true. Hmm.
and I do believe WWE can sway him into coming back and saying, okay, we'll bring you in as general manager of 205 Live, so you wouldn't be wrestling a lot. You're going to have an easier schedule, and you're going to be paid. And you're going to have your merch, and you can have a new DVD. You can be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, and I do think he deserves it. He definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he's done so much for AAA, WCW, ECW, WWF, WWE. He's definitely Hall of Fame bound, and not just that, but he's the absolute personification of cruiserweights. Whenever you talk about cruiserweights, he's the first guy that comes into the conversation. And having him as the GM, and you can have like a guy like Neville kind of belittle him and say, "Oh, you're from the past. You don't have it in you anymore. You can't wrestle anymore." And you can build it to WrestleMania and let them face off at WrestleMania and be like a passing of the torch. I do think that there's more for Rey Mysterio to give for the cruiserweights, especially for the cruiserweights. So, what you
You,
guys
you
think?
can you could have you can
What's that?
Have Rey Mysterio be the GM and stuff like that. For those who don't know, Rey Mysterio is my favorite wrestler like ever. Um, and obviously I'm biased. If I were to see Rey Mysterio come back in the WWE television, I'd be I'll be pretty happy. But you can have Rey Mysterio.
What's that?
Um,
You got cut off stage.
I got cut off.
Yeah,
All right, testing, testing, 1, 2, blah 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 blah. Can you hear me?
perfect.
All right, I said Mysterio be the GM and stuff like that, and put over the top heel, whoever is in 205 or whatever the hell. You know what I mean? You could
Right.
do that, or you know, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. Like heck, let's say if you can do that with maybe a Billy Kid.
You got cut off
You know,
again, stage.
oh, I got cut off.
Yeah, it just
Yeah,
it
cut now
went.
stage.
All right. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I don't know why. I don't know why.
you keep coming in and out, so it's just I don't know what it
Ho,
is.
ho, ho.
It's probably the internet connection and from my end. But yeah, I just wanted to finish my thoughts on that. So yeah.
All right, so you're fine by like Rey Mysterio coming in as a GM and as a part timer,
Sure.
right? What about you, Adam?
I really thought you were going to say Disco Inferno because when I think of the cruiserweight division, the first guy that comes to my mind is Disco Inferno.
Oh come on, he had like he had the title for like a week.
Well, either him or Norman Smiley. And I love Screaming. I love Screaming Norman. I'm a
Who
big
doesn't?
Screaming Norman fan.
Who doesn't? He's
Um,
amazing.
No, I think it's a very good idea, especially because they would use him to get the other guys over. He wouldn't really be on too tight of a schedule or too rough of a schedule. Probably wouldn't have to work house shows. He would probably only work the TV tapings. Um, so yeah, if you want to have him be the GM of the cruiserweights, that's fine. But the only thing is, if you have a GM, you're kind of acknowledging 205 as a brand. And if you start acknowledging it as a brand, then you might have to start considering them being part of the brand extension with NXT. Not with NXT, but, like NXT. That would then mean you would have 4 brands: Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and 205.
Sure, but
Which
he would be kind of like a kind of like a matchmaker and stuff like that. It can be one of those things where it's like Mick Foley has so much on his plate, and he's like, okay, I can't control Brock and Goldberg and the title picture and Raw and all the cruiserweights. Holy shit! I need someone to help me out with this, and he brings in Rey Mysterio as the guy that would take over, 205 Live. Yeah.
So it wouldn't really be a separate brand per se.
It wouldn't really be a separate brand because it can't stand on its own 2 feet yet. It still needs the Raw as a crutch.
Right.
Like you said before, the viewership for God's sakes, people are watching Storytime, a cartoon about old road stories over 205 Live. They're not checking out. They're not in the WWE network to watch like newer content, even though that's what WWE is trying to do, bring in newer content.
Right. And that's the other thing is, I meant to mention this earlier, is there's a lot of content on the network right now. And even if you look at the newer content, they have Foley and Road Stories and Legends of Wrestling or Legends of the Ring, whatever it's called. And then you have 205 Live, and it's kind of easy to miss 205 Live because of all this other content to go through. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of like, oh wow, look at it's Total Divas isn't that's not on the network, right? That's just on E or whatever.
I think they have like the first couple of seasons on the network. It's not.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they don't
So
have the
I mean,
entire show.
yeah. So there's a lot to go through on the network, and then you have that. What is that cartoon? That stupid. I mean, not stupid. It looked okay.
WWE.
And there's so much content, and then you have the UK stuff, and you have the Cruiserweight Classic, and you have
Yeah, basically you
Smoky
have
Mountain and
so
NWO.
much stuff, like the old stuff. They're bringing in the old library, and as well as newer content. I totally get that. But at the same time, when you have like a guy like Rey Mysterio, who is like synonymous with the cruiserweight, name, the brand, that the franchise itself, it's a big name, like you said. It's someone that you can have, like, you can have them on every 205 Live video package and poster. You have his face on
Right.
it, and people will buy
Right.
it. They're going to be like, "Holy shit, Mysterio's back!" And they're going to watch it,
Yeah.
and they're going to be like, "Yeah, this is awesome." And they will give it a chance because you have a big name on it. But if you have like indie darlings, from
Mhm.
top to bottom, it's like I don't know anybody. Like, why should I give
Yeah.
them a chance? Um,
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. You could use oh, Stage just left.
right.
He
We'll
dropped.
continue. I think he
Okay.
was.
Um, yeah, I totally agree about the marketing and the posters and stuff. Is I don't really know what his commitment is to Lucha, but like you said, it's a show to show type thing. As far as I know, Lucha doesn't really have a lot of guys under contracts. They do have a couple guys under contract. I know Prince Puma was under contract, and I think his contract is coming up with Lucha soon, or has already expired. And there are rumors of Puma coming to WWE. It does have contracts. I don't know if Mysterio is under one or what his agreement is to Lucha. Um, like you said, he can get out of it, just like Del Rio or Alberto Del Patron got out of it. So I feel like yeah, there's always a possibility. And you mentioned the thing about the Hall of Fame, and I think that would be very what's the word I'm looking for? It would be very Mysterio would be very interested. He would be very intrigued. That's the word, intrigued. He would be very intrigued to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I don't know what the relationship is with now, and I don't know what kind of terms he left off.
He did leave on bad terms because of I think it was pay. He was backlogged. They didn't. There were missing dates, and as well as him getting suspended the last time he did. He said that it was unfair because
Oh,
it
right,
was
the wellness
prescribed.
thing.
Yeah, it was prescribed. So yeah, there was bad. There was kind of like a heat between them, but I think it's a lot better now because he did state in interviews lately that he would come back if given the right circumstance.
Yeah.
Like if it's the right opponent and the right program and everything, like the stars aligned, he will. And I think
Hmm.
the thing is about Rey Mysterio, he does like putting over younger guys. He does love that. And of course, it depends on the person he's working with. And you see those things happen in Lucha Underground, where he's helping out guys like Dragon Azteca and Prince Puma and all those guys.
Right.
He would definitely have no problem helping those guys out from 205 Live and teaching them. This is the most important thing. He can teach them how to work the WWE cruiserweight style, because there's a difference between that and any other place, whether it's in Japan or the UK, because you depend a lot on emotion, and when that's how you get the fans invested. It's not like in the UK where it's like, holy shit, what the fuck did he just do? It's more emotion. That's what the fans, kind of look for nowadays.
Well, Luch.
Yeah, and him as a general manager, I think kind of limits his dates. He doesn't have to be on every single show every single week, but having his face on the posters and on the moving trucks, I think it's enough for people to be interested on the show and be like, yeah, I want to check it out. So, any final thoughts?
Definitely. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Well, final thought would be, I guess, if you're going to get the Cruiserweight division over, they have to do it in a big way, and they have to do it in a way where they commit to it. And just like anything, or just like any angle, you can't be half pregnant with it, as you sometimes like to say. And, they can't be, as Michael Hayes likes to say, you can't be half pregnant with something. You have to go all the way with it. And I think bringing in a big name like Mysterio, or even a name that's on the roster now like Xavier or Enzo or Kalisto or Sin Cara would definitely get it over in a big way.
Right.
So don't be half pregnant with the WWE. Go all the way. Commit. And one other thing I wanted to say was, I think you'll probably agree with me because a big Lucha fan as well, is Lucha has phenomenal writing.
Right.
They have a great writing staff. And if anyone's listening to this who has not checked out Lucha Underground yet, in a couple of weeks, season 1 is going to be on Netflix. So I definitely implore anyone who has not watched Lucha Underground yet to go.
Not a Netflix deal?
Yeah, a couple of weeks will be on Netflix. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. Like, I know that the first and second season are on iTunes.
Yeah, they are on iTunes, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to keep the new episodes exclusive to iTunes. So I don't think that Netflix is going to get any new episodes of Lucha, only because iTunes wants to keep that, for them. So you might have to wait a while until the seasons finish for Netflix, because iTunes wants to keep that for themselves. But in a couple weeks
that's huge. That's huge for Lucha Underground.
Huge. It's huge for them. It really is. And who knows? Maybe Lucha Underground will be the one to compete with WWE. I think that would be.
Yeah, that could happen, but I don't see it anytime soon. Like, you give it
no.
Like, I would probably give it like 20 years or so. Then
20? Wow.
Before that even begins to happen, like, seriously, because no matter how much I love Lucha Underground, there is that the core audience for WWE is so huge. Like, I think 3 or 4 million that will not, walk away, no matter how shitty the product gets. Like,
well, they definitely can't rush it, and that's something that TNA did a few years ago when they did the January 4th thing. They're going to go head to head with Raw.
And we'll definitely talk about that, because that's a very important topic that I would love to talk about sometime soon.
Yeah. I mean, what Fed? Here's another future video idea. Which Fed will be the one to compete with WWE? Man, I just keep giving this channel like it's some great ideas and not working on my own channel. But I will have new videos up soon. I promise.
Hopefully.
So no, and so this is a big plug for Lucha Underground. Anyone who is listening to this podcast right now and you haven't checked out Lucha Underground yet, Vendor will probably definitely agree that they have phenomenal writing. So I just hope that if Mysterio does go to WWE, that they use him in the same way that they used him with Dragon Azteca Jr. in Lucha.
Right. Okay. So, what about you, Terrence? What do you think? Like, what's your overall thought on like Rey Mysterio joining? And do you have any other ideas um, to help 205 Live?
Nah, not really. Not at this point. I just said everything that I have to say, and that's basically about it. I think the only thing they need to do now is just to be more committed to it and make it big as possible, just like what Adam said.
Right. Okay, one more thing that I think would help 205 Live. And this, you don't need to cancel the show if this works out. I say you need to have it in a smaller building and let it be on a different night rather than on Tuesday right after SmackDown. You can do it like right after NXT. You can have it on Full Sail and, have the shows like right after NXT. But I think a better way to do it is have it in a different venue because the fans would get really burnt out because the tapings for NXT, they would tape a few shows in advance. And when you do that and you have like 205 Live right after that, then you get the same effect. The fans are just totally burnt out. It's like, oh, I've had enough. I can't cheer anymore. So instead of doing that, put it in like a different venue. And one of the venues that I've been searching for, um, the Grand Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles, California. It seats up to 7,000 people, so it's not like a huge building. I think it's big enough, and plus it's in LA where people are more familiar with the 205 Live, wrestlers. TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick and all those guys that really made a name for themselves on that area.
Yeah, like
So
PWG.
exactly, like I think I do believe it's really close to PWG, and having like 205 Live, like I wouldn't say exclusive to that venue, but you can have it like everywhere in California, because you go to those smart venues like the Manhattan Center or trying to think of places. The more smart fan base where they would come up and they would be like, "Oh, I know this guy. I know Tozawa. I know Grand Metalik. I know Lince Dorado. I've seen this guy before in like CZW and or whatever. So I've seen TJ Perkins at PWG. He's awesome. So when you have those places, and I do remember, I do believe this was like the night after SummerSlam, where TJ
Mhm.
Perkins had a match and on Raw, and the fans were into it because they're familiar with him, they're familiar with Brian Kendrick, and it was a hot match. So when you do stuff like that in places that people are familiar with, like in California, I do believe that you would bring in more people, and especially a more intimate venue. I think it being an intimate venue, it would have the same effect as PWG is having on like the indie scene. And even though like the WWE network really wants like the guys behind the WWE network really want PWG to be part of the show. PWG isn't like I think it's what's the name of the guy that's in charge? Jeez, Super Dragon.
Oh, not
Was it Super Dragon?
okay, right. The
Yeah,
bookers, yeah.
yeah. Super Dragon is I think it's his promotion. So
Hmm.
he declined everybody because everybody wants to be part of this. They want to air it on their network and have like pay per views and stuff like that. But Super Dragon doesn't want any part of that. He still is dealing with like DVD sales. Um, so when you do something like that with like 205 Live, I think having like that intimate setting, having like the fans really close to the ring, and like good commentary with like Mauro Ranallo and bring in Daniel Bryan. Like you don't need like Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. I do believe that Shane McMahon is enough for SmackDown. You don't need like two authority figures on the show. And hey, if there's a week where Shane isn't there, then fuck, he's in there. Like you don't have to have like an authority figure every single week. and put Daniel Bryan on 205 Live as a commentator with Mauro Ranallo because they have amazing chemistry. Um, and I think it would be just an amazing, amazing show. So, what do you guys think? Do you think that it's a right idea to do that, or do you think that no, just scrap 205 Live altogether and let's just keep it on Raw?
Well, I like the idea um, of having it in one venue, especially I like the idea of having a smaller venue. But having it, like exclusive to the West Coast, um, is not a bad idea, but I feel like it would kind of uh, again, it would make it feel to me like too much of its own brand, where it's kind of like, okay, we need to travel here and do NXT, then we need to travel here and do Raw, then do this live event, then um, do Raw, then do SmackDown Live, and then do live events, then travel to the West Coast to do, to tape shows. Then it's it's good, but I feel like it might be expanding, stretching out what you have a bit, where I feel like it might be better just to consolidate.
Right. What about you, Terrence?
Yeah. Sure, you can do it in a place like Full Sail. That'd work. Um, yeah, you can have that be in Full Sail and stuff like that. Um,
I wouldn't mind if it was at Full Sail either.
like yeah, I suggest and have it be on Wednesdays, like maybe after NXT or something like that. Especially if they're planning to do NXT going live or something like that. So you can have something like that. So yeah.
Right. Well, the idea that I brought out is because, yeah, I just thought about the traveling schedules of like the wrestlers, and they got to be on Raw, they got to be on 205 Live. Well, you can round out like the wrestlers. You don't have to have like Neville at every single 205 Live. You don't have to have him in every single Raw. You can have it like one week on a show. And plus, 205 Live doesn't need to be live. I think you can have it be taped, just and take away the live aspect of it. I think you
Right.
should tape it in advance, and that way the wrestlers would have enough time to be on Raw, to be on house shows, and just so that it can be much more concise and much more, um, you know, uh, I think it would be much more doable. Um, and having it in like a smaller venue, like I said in California, like I said, people are more familiar with those faces, and those guys can wrestle guys from that area as well. You bring in guys from like PWG and like guys who are indie performers who are well known in that venue, and people are like, "Holy shit, it's that guy that I just saw the other day. He's right now in 205 Live," and they would be cheering him on, facing like Cedric
That's true.
Alexander or Neville or like some guy like that. Like imagine Neville doing like an open challenge every single week. With like guys from that area. I think that would be cool. Just
That's
it would liven up the product. I think.
that's absolutely true. I definitely think that having it in a smaller venue needs to happen, because I remember the first time watching 205 Live, and I remember tuning in and going, wow, I was expecting a small venue, like, because it was like, it feels like it should be in a small venue, kind of like the UK Championship tournament was, um, pretty small venue. The Cruiserweight Classic wasn't really in a big venue. The UK Championship wasn't. So, why are they doing 205 Live in like these big arenas? And I just remember tuning in the first time. And again, I know I mentioned this before, but I remember going, wow, this is a huge arena and it's like empty. You know what I mean? Um, where if you treat it more like a TV taping, kind of like they do with NXT or Underground, like Lucha Underground. And again, I don't mean to keep going back to Lucha, but it's great. Um, so they don't treat it like wow, look at, we're in this huge arena. It's like we're in a TV studio, and uh, WCW Saturday Night, you know, that's another example, where it's like when they were Turner took over WCW, it was like, oh wow, we're selling out these huge arenas in Charlotte and all over the place and Atlanta and blah blah blah. They took WCW and they put it, they put Saturday Night in a TV studio. So I definitely feel like it needs to be a smaller venue. My only concern with California is, yes, a lot of guys would, or a lot of people would recognize, the names that they saw because, like you mentioned, oh wow, this guy was just on a PWG show, and now they're on 205 Live, where which would be great. But my only concern is if you're doing Raw and SmackDown on the East Coast, and then you have 205 tape on like a Wednesday night, they're gonna have to fly all the way to the West Coast uh, to do 205 Live. So the only concern is California would be great, and I think a smaller venue is necessary but imperative right now. I've always wanted to use that word. I've been waiting for a while to use that word. Actually, it's now to have it be in a smaller arena, and I think California would be great. But my only concern is, what about when Raw and SmackDown are on the East Coast?
Well, that's an easy fix. Whenever they have like a taping date, they wouldn't have like the guys on the taping on Raw that day. So they would know in advance. So you can, if like for example Neville is due to be in the tapings on Wednesday, then you don't have him on Raw leading up to that. You can have him on the week prior to that, and then you can have him like on 205 Live, and then you can have you can round out those guys, because I think the roster is so small. You need to bring in more guys to warrant something like this, to warrant a show. You need at least 15 guys, but right now I can only think of like 6 people on that show. So like it's really it's one of those things that you need to expand the roster. So what about you, Terrence?
Yeah,
What do you think?
Um, um, Sorry. So you're talking about 205 being a smaller venue,
Don't tell me
right?
you zoned out.
No, because I basically had all of my points that I,
Right.
mentioned. So everything that I would say up to this point would just be repetition.
Sure.
But
I just wanted to kind of just agree with Terrence on one thing was, and you also, Bender, was when we originally started watching 205 Live, or when 205 Live, first became a thing, you had guys like Perkins, Swan, of um, Grant, and guys like that. And now it's kind of just become, like you said, just about a certain group of guys, and if you start bringing in maybe more guys that were in the Cruiserweight Classic to Cruiserweight division, uh, that would definitely improve as well, especially. And again, this is something that Terrence said at the beginning of the show was it was all about flippy doos, as Jim Cornette likes to say, uh, in the beginning of the not just 205. Actually, no, sorry, Cruiserweight Classic. It was all about flippy doos and stuff like that, and then the smaller guys kind of got phased out, and now you mentioned this earlier also was now it's more about the bigger guys and the more technical style, and that's not what the cruiserweight division is to me.
Right. Well, I think I think we've covered everything on the show about how to fix 205 Live. So Vince, if you're watching, listen to us. We know what's best for business.
Not really.
Oh, come on, don't be humble. Um, we can say this. We are the best bookers in the world. Give us the book, and we will make you millions of dollars.
We
Um,
would do we would do very well. We'd definitely do better than Kevin Nash until I turn around and give Terrence that finger poker to him.
oh, come on, don't say that. I hope Kevin Nash isn't listening. He could tear another quad.
You might call me a vanilla midget.
Everyone is a vanilla midget compared to him.
That's true.
So, yeah, yeah. I think we've covered everything of how to fix like 205 Live in the Cruiserweight division. Mix it up, and mix up the wrestlers. Put the mix up the Cruiserweights with the heavyweights on Raw, because you already do that with Xavier Woods with other guys and Enzo Amore against Rusev. So you already break your own rule. Hell, your first Universal Champion with a Cruiserweight. Nobody talks about that. So I do think that yeah, you need to mix it up some more. So it's just like, oh, they're Cruiserweights, but Enzo and Xavier Woods aren't. Well, what's so different? I don't know. So yeah, that's basically it. We talked about venue. We talked about the show, whether to put it in the middle of Raw or let it. I think we've done justice for it. And if you're gonna scrap it, you can have it like in the middle way of Raw. That would be successful. And then when the
SmackDown the third hour.
oh no,
No.
gee,
I'm a troll.
you know what the funny thing is though, Terrence, is that could happen. Even though
You really could.
even though that we don't want it to happen, it could happen. USA, they want that WWE content.
No.
Jeez. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Don't want them to fuck around with my SmackDown. So, with that being said, Terrence, plug in your shit.
Subscribe to Wrestling Express. At stageman_2014 is my Twitter. Also check out the 434 Club page on Facebook. Check out Mark Studio, which is my graphic designing page where I make like custom posters and all that stuff about WWE and all that shit. So check out there and all that cool stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. And what about you, Adam?
Sure, I'll plug my stuff again, even though I did it at the top.
Hey,
my channel is called...
Some people could have tuned out by now. So
That's true. YouTube channel is called Team Diff, so go check out and subscribe to Team Diff. I'm going to have new content very soon. And my Twitter is at the Working Heel. I live my gimmick. And what else can I plug? Oh, yes. Go watch Lucha Underground on Netflix.
Awesome. I'll have everything in the description box. And with that being said, rate, comment, favorite, please subscribe. And check out our next video where we'll be talking about something else.